Did you know there are two types of AI? The first type is what you're familiar with, ChatGPT, LLMs, etc. But there's a second type which is even more powerful and which has a greater magnitude than LLMs. And in this video, I want us to explore the AIs as well as why AI isn't just a technology problem. Yes, it might help us solve labor problems, but in the end, it's going to be a political problem. So we're going to look at why it's that, and we're going to follow a systematic way at arriving to conclusions, as well as there is a thing going on around the internet that AI will bring abundance to everyone. And that, when examined closely, just doesn't hold up. Let's see what effect AI has on the human condition, on work, on labor, and what it means for you. My dream was to be able to create robots that can live in the world, can be able to do stuff on their own. Basically, autonomous robots that are able to do things on their own, they're able to move around the world, they're able to manipulate objects, and able to harness energy, repair themselves, basically do everything that a life form should do. But what we have is a robot instead of a of a biological entity. So that was my dream. And at the time, I was working in a cement factory in Nairobi, and around that time was when ChatGPT came out. It came out at around November 2022. And immediately I realized that things had changed, and it meant that a lot of things are going to change. Automation and robotics, all of those things were going to change, and AI was going to enable a lot of things. So immediately I dropped my cement factory job. I gave up my salary and went to a research center, the biggest one in East Africa, I think, a research center that does AI. And that's where I've been learning about AI and how intense research is around AI and the things that people are developing. People have no clue about how much effort is like being put behind AI and the forces that we're about to unleash in the world. It's just these millions and millions of people working all over the world on it, and billions and billions and billions of dollars being put into it. So it's only a matter of time before automation is like 100% complete. There are two types of AI. One is informational AI, that is an AI that is able to pick up information, generate information, or help with searching and retrieval. That is what ChatGPT is. The other systems like what you have on your TikTok feed. It's a system that looks at what you like and then looks at what other people like and then suggests to you what you're likely to have. The same thing happens with Amazon or your e-commerce platform. Those are information AI. There's a second category of AI which is physical. It's an AI that acts on the physical world. It's able to handle objects. It's able to move around the environment. So there are those two different types of AI. And while information AI is likely to go after white collar jobs like looking at data, analyzing data, the second type is likely to go after the manual labor jobs, and that's where a lot of people sense that the danger is at, because not so, especially in developing countries, a lot of people are working in manual jobs more than in white collar jobs. But in essence, AI is coming for both of those jobs. AI going for people's jobs is presenting a very strong conundrum, and some people are coping with it by deluding themselves that AI can't is not creative, AI is not doing all those things. You can see like a lot of cop is happening, and instead of like harnessing the technology, people are just like giving excuses for why they should be allowed to continue working. But I'll give you a good example so that you can see where we are headed, and you'll see clearly why it's quite dangerous to be left in a world without capital that's producing products. But before that, I do AI consolidation for your business, so we can look at your business and tell you where AI can help with productivity. So let's look at an example. We're going to imagine we have a country. The country has it's a farming country, so the whole country is one large farm owned by one person. We'll call them the farmer, and everyone else works on that farm. So they come, they plant and sow and weed, and they help with the harvest. So everyone is paid according to how much work they do, and then maybe at the end of the month they can come with their receipts of money and say that this is how much I worked, so give me food, and the farmer gives them food. So in this kind of economy, you if you're not the farmer and you're like a normal citizen, your only bargaining power in order to survive is your labor. Is that one needs to work in the farm in order to receive money in order to buy food, right? Let's assume there are no other activities, there are no other economic activities. So it's just the farm laborers, and the farmer. So in such an economy, you have labor. Labor is the only bargaining chip that you have, right? So what happens when the farmer now begins to automate his farm? Let's say they get machines for plowing the land, and machines for planting, and machines for weeding, and machines for harvesting. So in such a system, we find that human labor no longer becomes as important. Human labor no longer becomes a bargaining chip. And still, the farmer has all the land and they're producing all the crops. Let's say that we have even applied even more technology. Let's say the farmer is able to like get the harvest and able to store it. That gives them even more bargaining power. So you see, in a sense, that technology helps those who have, productive assets, those who have capital. Because remember that the three factors of production is land, labor, and capital. Capital like machines that produce land where you can do the farming, and labor, which by now is being highly automated. So you find that the farmer now has all the crops and has all the automation, and is no longer in need of human labor. That presents a very, very tricky situation, because you have all these people now who don't have a job, and you think that they're just going to let the farmer be. That's why I say that this is a very political problem. Automation, when taken to the maximum, becomes a political problem, whereby those who have assets get all the production, and those who don't have assets can no longer use labor as a bargaining chip in order to survive. So you have there's going to be a conflict between these two classes of people, and that is no longer just an automation problem. It becomes a survival problem. It becomes a political problem. And you might say that, okay, hey, wait a minute, our country, we don't have one farm and we're not all farm laborers. But in a sense, what we have, or the real situation is more like we have many farm, or not even many, like a few farm owners who have all the laborers. Basically, it's not one farm, but it's just a few. And then you have the government and other people who regulate what the farmer does and all those things. AI is going to go. AI is automating a lot of things, and people are going to lose jobs. And I think that the major question would be, what do we do? What do we do about it? Lots of people have come up with suggestions about how we should handle this AI and automation thing. Some people have suggested that, especially in the US, a lot of billionaires are suggesting that AI will bring unlimited success, a lot of production, but is the production really trickling down to everyone, especially those without capital, those without assets, those productive assets, that is? And I think that yes, there will be abundance, but the abundance is only going to those who have productive assets. That's why it's like really important to have, either you have a share in a company, or you have a business, you have all those things that can help you produce something that you can then trade in order to get other things in the world. Because if you don't have, I think in the long run, automation is just like going to crazily wipe out everyone who doesn't have a piece of business, a piece of an asset, or a piece of land. Basically, anything that can produce something of value to other human beings. So I think that there have been many like solutions tested or suggested. For example, you could say that, okay, let's have everyone get a piece of land once they are born in a country. A piece of land where they can later farm, or even let's have universal basic income, whereby everyone gets some money at the end of every month, so that they're able to like spend, and so that no one is like left without having food and clothes and housing, the essential stuff. Because the alternative to like I won't say like a forced distribution of resources. I think the alternative is having those with assets share with those without assets. And I don't think that is a very practical solution. And I think that this is one of the things that government should like really, really think about. Because if I was the government, I'd like establish an institute or an agency that thinks well about what AI means, what automation means, especially politically, because at some point it's going to be a very, very political problem, and those with assets are not just going to like give up what they've worked hard for, because our current rules allows people to produce things of value, get wealth, and it's not a policy that they must share their wealth with anyone. But I think that what we have in the long run is like a very intense problem. And I think that having an institution that really thinks well about it would like really pay well. So, in short, I think that automation is like a really good thing, and it needs to happen. And anyone with a business will always be pushing towards that. So let's automate as much as we can. We want machines to replace labor, but then people have always been depending on labor in order to eat and get paid and eat and pay for their rent. So there's going to be that disconnect between people and labor, because labor is going to be taken by AI. So I think the ultimate question is like, who owns the automated economy? Who owns the automation? And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, so share something on the comments.